Okay, about to jump on live with Squawking Dead. So yeah, we're just going to be talking a bit about the news announced by AMC and what that means, what we're looking forward to in the future, and mate, everything in between, because it's a lot of news all in once. And then we're ready to go. Hey, there we go.
I can't see me, but I can see you just fine.
Oh, sweet, awesome. How's it going? You can hear me all right?
Yeah, stellar.
Fantastic. Awesome. What's your name actually? Sorry, I don't know if we did that.
It's quite all right. We're just getting to know each other. It's our first date.
Yeah.
I'm Dave, obviously from
Dave,
Squawking Dead.
awesome. Awesome.
Um,
I'm Ben.
Ben. I think you have Isaac and Liam, right? Also with you?
Oh, mate. Yeah, all over it.
I
Yeah,
just
that's
caught the
it.
beginning of your last podcast. So
Yeah, oh, awesome, cool. You guys sort of change up a bit between shows. I've noticed a few of yours have like different hosts on them. Is that how many of you are there altogether?
so the beating heart of our podcast is me, but
Okay.
um, but yeah, we started out with one. It was just Carol and I. She's an ex-New Yorker now in the Miami area of Miami, Florida,
Yeah,
and
right.
we knew each other from New York City. And when she moved away, and then we just kept in touch. And season 7, I think, rolled around, and we were talking about doing a podcast. And when finally season 8 rolled around, she said, "We got to do this because things are getting crazy." And
Yeah,
so
right.
we started, and then eventually, a year later, started to pick up other hosts like Ashley Weidman, who won Talking Dead's Ultimate Fan contest in 2018.
Oh, nice.
And then,
Nice.
yeah, and then we picked up another, like, another Walking Dead, sorry, other Talking Dead Ultimate Fan hopeful, but she never quite made
Okay.
it. And so she became another
Yeah.
host. And yeah, and ever since then, we've kind of done what you're doing now, is like what we're collaborating with other Walking Dead entities, like interview shows and podcasts. So
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
yeah,
that's really one of the amazing, yeah, just fun things about it. Hey, being able to connect with people all around the world, just yeah, who we all love the same thing. Yeah, it's just so fun to be able to do that. Hey, and Instagram, all that just makes it that much easier.
yeah, a little bit. The
Yeah,
way I do it
that's
is much
really
more
cool.
difficult.
Oh, right. Okay. How so?
I when we stream on multiple platforms at the same time.
Oh,
So I
yeah. Yeah,
figured
that's
it out.
right.
So yeah, so it's not as easy, like, say, to bring somebody like you on when we're doing that, like,
Sure.
as an add-on. So
Yeah, and
but
I imagine that would
it
be.
has its perks. So
Okay. Oh, nice. That's really cool as well to hear that you guys started in season 8 because I know sort of around that point with, what happened with Negan killing off Glenn and Abraham, a lot of people were sort of starting to drop off the show because they weren't really happy with some of those things. So it's really encouraging to hear that
yeah,
that was
yeah,
the point where you guys said, you know what, we love this show so much, we're going to start a podcast about it. So, yeah, it just goes to show how, even when the show's maybe not at its best, it's still very strong and, yeah, just got a lot going for it.
yeah. And I think it's proved positive that, like, over the last 3 years we've been doing this almost. Um,
Yeah,
the fans that are left over are consolidated and they're much more strong, and um, I think they make a good case for it, and we're one of them. So it's kind of like, why not? And then I did not mind being like a resident psychologist for
all
the
right.
next 2 years, or for the next year, because I mean we did start season 8, and season 9 came around, and even when we were covering
Mm,
Fear the Walking Dead, not a lot of people
yeah,
adapted to that very well,
right,
but we're
okay,
still here.
interesting. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Hey, and obviously it's great to do it for the listeners, the people who enjoy listening to the podcast. But at the end of the day, it's really just about having fun, enjoying the show with friends, and getting a chance to talk about it. Hey, that's really the best thing.
Absolutely, yeah, undoubtedly.
Mm,
So,
fantastic.
but you guys just started out recently too, though. I mean, now that we're in season 10,
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
thought we started late.
we started like halfway through season 10. We were quite late to the game. It was the sort of thing that I would have done it earlier if if the facilities and everything were available. but yeah, it just sort of happened timing wise that, we got the microphone set up. We run a few other podcasts as well. We do like
Oh
a
yeah,
Star Wars one and some other things. So once that sort of all started falling into place, then yeah, it just seemed like, okay, now's the time. I wonder if we can pull some people together and just chat about Walking Dead, because every week before then it was like, just want someone to talk about it with, like
that's
there's so much
exactly why we
that
started. Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
And have you found this to be the case? Is that you have close mates who just don't
Yeah.
watch the show, and then every now and again you'll find somebody on the internet that, and maybe, and I mean, I guess you found the other two
Yeah.
hosts that you have to talk about the show, but
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
that we've gathered all these stragglers on the internet to kind of glom onto and talk about the show, because like I don't know about if this is the case for you, but like
Mm.
my personal friends just don't watch the show, so it's just a
Yeah,
weird
no, same
situation.
here, hey. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just one of those weird things where you do have to kind of seek out people sometimes who have the same level of, passion for it as you do, or who enjoy it enough to want to talk about it. But yeah, it's similar sort of thing where just there's so many friends you've got around you who don't watch it. It's like, when you find someone who does enjoy it then and does watch it regularly, it's just, yeah, it's really cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what would, just to get to know what you like about the show, first off, would you say you have a favorite season and maybe a favorite episode? Can you think of one off the top of your head?
Um, in terms of episodes, okay. I mean, it's this weird thing where like sometimes an episode will stand out to me and then it just won't release its grip. And
Right. Okay.
it's funny because you were talking about bottle episodes and you saw, I don't know if it was you, but you saw my comment
Yeah.
about
Yeah, that's right.
close your
And
eyes.
that
So
was amazing, yeah, comment actually. We reread that out on the podcast and that just helped the conversation
like,
because like that just summed it up perfectly. Hey, the pros and cons of it.
yeah, and there are cons, obviously, and which my co-host
Yeah,
will attest to. She just dislikes bottle episodes, liked that one,
really
but
interesting.
in general does not like bot because she likes it when a story, so, look, typical impatient New Yorkers, she likes it when a story gets to move forward, so
Right.
when it doesn't move forward it's like, all right, where's the train, that sort of mentality.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
funny thing
that's
that you can
fair.
call
Hey,
out New Yorkers for all the time, but yeah, it's
interesting.
but for me, I happen to like the mechanics of film and the whatever directors of photography like Adam Sushitsky. I
Yeah.
appreciate that much. Michael Satrazemis. I mean, there's something about like it's kind of like one of those things where when you see it, it's all you can see. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
sure thing.
that was a sweeping panning shot, with a crane overhead into the next room in a one take, and like
Yeah.
so you start to think, oh, that was technical, and that was pretty tough to
Mm.
do, and they had to do it in one take, and so that's how my
Yeah,
mind works
some
now.
incredible stuff, hey. Just while we're on that as well, we actually did just last night, well, last night for us, it would have been this morning for you guys. Yeah, we just interviewed him for about an hour chatting about the show. And yeah, similar to you, I just love all that, technical film stuff. So I'm a videographer by trade is my job, and, studied at film school and stuff like that. So yeah, we were able to get into a lot of, really technical filmy questions as well as just general creative ones. So that's not up yet, but we'll put that up soon.
Cool.
Yeah, on the podcast.
I'll definitely, because I just liked that post, and I was like, I'm definitely going to listen to that one. Because the thing with him is that every interview I've seen him do, it always kind of just, it's like a groove that he gets into, and you can't get him out almost. Which it's funny to me
Absolutely.
because I love it when he gets technical about it, and it's like, oh, I don't know if he's going to lose the audience, but I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, yeah, no, he just, yeah, can really see that he's got a passion for it, how it
Yeah.
just overflows. And yeah, no, awesome guy to talk to, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so favorite season, can you think of one off the top of your head, or is it just too hard to choose?
No, I definitely, I think I think the season that I probably would like the most, because so many things end up happening. I
Yeah.
mean, in terms of mood, psychology, and just coming to grips with the possibility of a community somehow
Mm,
having survived for 2 years during the apocalypse. was season 6 of The Walking Dead. My opinion.
Ah, okay.
I know that's a little bit of
Interesting.
a hot take for some people, but like meeting Alexandria, dealing with the wolves, um, the idea, bless you, dealing with
Thank you.
the just the idea and Rick coming to grips, and then also I think that was, if I remember right, this was like the first time where you started to see the shift of the de-emphasizing of the Grimes family as the main focus of the show too.
Yeah, for sure. Hey,
And so that's what kind of
definitely
things started
expanded.
changing.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I definitely season 6 I think is maybe like fourth on my list of ranking or something like that. So, it's up there. I really, yeah, did enjoy that. Hey, it's got a lot going for it with I think the first half of the season pretty much takes place over like one day or something like that because it's just the Walker herd escaping from the quarry and all that happening. But it's just every episode is just really exciting and then leading into the Negan stuff towards the end. Just there's this whole new tone which you hadn't quite seen on the show before then. So no, that's a awesome choice.
And I do appreciate Morgan returning. I think it was in the mid-season, just before the mid-season break, if I'm not mistaken. I think it
Yeah,
was.
so he came right at the end of season 5. It
Oh,
was sort of
yeah.
partway through season 5 when they first came to Alexandria, and then yeah, he gradually popped his head up, and that was like the cliffhanger at the end of season 5 was then he shows up and goes, Rick, and walks in and sees him shoot this guy
I love
on the
those
floor.
moments too, by the way. Those moments where,
Yeah,
because I was just listening to a clip that we did uh, from like our first episode, I think. So like
right.
this is the 100th episode, season 8, episode 1, and we were talking about Heath, and at the end of the clip, I
Oh,
was just kind of like,
yeah.
I love those moments where where a character comes back and goes, "What the happened to you?" You're like,
Absolutely.
did I interrupt something?
Yeah.
Which is, it just shows like how far certain characters have come and how they've evolved or however you want to call it, but right.
Yeah. No,
So, and
definitely.
that was definitely one of those
Uh,
moments. But what would you say is your? I mean, if you had to pick, what would be a season that stands out for you?
um, Probably I'd have to say season 9. It would be maybe a tie between that and season 4 as well. Is really good. But
Mm,
yeah, now season 9, it almost feels like two seasons in one, where you've got the first 5 episodes focused on Rick, before his big departure, and then going straight into the Whisperer stuff and everything after that, seeing this whole new world after the time skip. Like, yeah, just every episode of that, really enjoyed it. And yeah, I don't know, the fact that after the main character dies, or not dies, but leaves the show rather, that's when pretty much the majority of TV shows would just go completely downhill and lose all the quality, and you kind of want to stop watching there. But the fact that it almost got better to some extent after Rick left, and they were really able to just tell this amazing story and hold it up really well. Just yeah, it's incredible to see. So that's probably got to be my choice for
you
favorite
know,
season. Hey.
I complete, and that you're willing to say this out loud, in front
Mm.
of all your fans. I think it's a bold choice. Not bold, but I think it's out of the box because I think that probably just as much as I do
Mm.
when you see other people proclaim their favorite seasons. It's usually like, oh, season 1, it's Frank Darabont, or like, oh, the prison for sure because so much goes on. Carol takes a turn. And it's
Yeah.
usually like the 1 through 4 seasons, not
Yeah.
really like anything above that because of the Glenn fake out, the Glenn death,
Sure.
and it's
Right.
like people get really attached to characters and not, I mean, in my opinion, I tend to see the
Mm.
noisiest voices cling to people rather than just the overall narrative that's trying to be weaved.
Yeah.
And so when
Mm.
things happen to those characters, they just kind of like fly off.
Sure. We've got in the comments here. How do you read that? Celtic. So I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but
That's
they're
Thomas
saying.
O'Mara, Celtic
Okay,
TSO.
okay, that's much better. They're saying season 2 was best. which I again love season two as well. That's yeah, absolutely. How did you feel about that? Because I know a lot of people did have a problem with it. They didn't like that it was, sort of just set in one location, and they felt it was a bit slow. But how did you find season two?
I fancied season two. I think at first I was not turned off by it, but because obviously there's a lot going. It's kind of like what we were talking about when it comes to film. There's a lot
Mm,
going on there in terms of what's being weaved, how it's being shot, why it's being shot, the way it's shot, who's shooting who.
yeah.
And so there, and look, I grew up loving the Twilight Zone series. I remember when DVDs were first a thing, which shows you how old I might be. Um,
Ah,
I was the first one to get the complete. I bought the individual volumes of the Twilight Zone.
mm,
Then I bought them again when they were consolidated. When they came out with the packs, and then I bought them yet again when they came out on Blu-ray. There's something about
that's
being able to
awesome,
weave,
hey.
yeah, to weave like a slow narrative in a short amount of time. So you
Mm,
like the emphasis of trying to use film as a storytelling device. And so I
yeah.
think that's what two was trying to do, and I think it succeeded. And I mean, I don't blame people, that New York mentality, that kind of, come on, where's the action? Something's got to happen, something big.
Sure.
And it's all about the build up. It's all about building up what they were ultimately trying to do by the end of it, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
no,
what
definitely.
Tom says.
Yeah. And then we got someone else as well saying season 10 and season 1 are my two favorite seasons. So completely different ends of the spectrum. Hey, but
Yeah,
no, that's awesome to hear that. Yeah, I guess it almost sometimes when you go back and watch the first season, it almost feels like two completely different shows. Hey, just the way that it's evolved. But yeah, I love to see that people are enjoying those just as much as the new ones, just as much as the early days. Is yeah, it's really good to hear. Hey.
100%.
Mm. Yeah, so I guess moving on to some of the news that was announced the other day. So we've got first of all that the show's ending in season 11. We're going to get obviously a sort of an epic long. It's essentially like two seasons worth of content still coming up if you include the bonus six episodes this season. So it's still got a lot to look forward to. But what was your initial reaction hearing that's going to come to an end?
So if initial reactions were, this is going to be the funniest thing, because we were just talking about it. It's like, oh man, I just started podcasting season 8, and now it's about now we got an expiration
Yeah,
date hanging over me. But that was just the
yeah,
initial thought.
sure.
I was like, come on, 2020, come on, and
Yeah.
and it's like the worst thing that could happen in 2020 is this, like a
For sure.
right. No,
Although it could have been worse. Worse would have been if like AMC cancelled the show and they
just
weren't
like
able to finish it. Yeah,
outright, yeah.
so yeah. But not go on,
Hey,
sorry.
tomorrow's another day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No, that was literally the initial reaction, but then I kind of just went like, because I mean, even if that happens, I mean, we still have Fear the Walking Dead, The Walking Dead World Beyond, and honestly, I don't know about you, but I mean, part of me
Mm.
does want to do kind of like a rewind to kind of cover the initial episodes from season 1 through season 7.
Yeah, sure
Uh,
thing.
I don't know about episode by episode, but maybe maybe half a season at a time, maybe something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, you run the risk of like obviously you don't want to go episode by episode because it's been done, and B,
Sure.
um, it's like I don't think people need to necessarily um, to go episode by episode, listening to an possibly hour-long show, maybe two and a half,
Mm.
about older episodes. Not sure. Jury's still out, but but I could see easily covering it a half a season at a time because I think that's what
Yeah.
tends to be how they're generally mapped. I think mapped out. You got the mid-season
Right.
cliffhangers.
Sure, yeah.
So
Oh,
maybe,
absolutely.
but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
then
that's a cool way to do it. Hey, and I suppose like even if you were listening to a podcast that was reviewing it as it was coming out, then they wouldn't cover it from that perspective. They'd be going episode by episode. So to go back and look at it a chunk at a time, sort of half seasons, yeah, I'd definitely listen to that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's easier, it's more digestible. You cover
Mm.
the kind of like overarching plot points, but like then also there's no reason why you can't zero in on one of the 8 episodes to say, hey, let me
Oh, sure.
pluck this out, and then put this on display and see how it
Mm.
relates to the, because now that we are kind of watching or covering it from the rear view, you can say what this moment and this moment and this moment connects to a future episode. So
Yeah.
that can be done, you
Oh,
know?
absolutely. Hey. We got someone asking in the chat, what about best episode ever? Oh, it's so hard to say like best. I can say my favorite episode, but what would you say? Is there one that comes to mind?
Put a gun to my head. I mean, I think if you want to take the easy way out, you do season 9, episode 5. Obviously, there's something
Oh
about
yeah.
how that all came together and how
Mm.
you know. It's like I remember we were covering it at the time, and I'm not sure if we said this out loud, but the idea of because we talked about the idea of doing like a flashback scene or hallucination scene, and
Okay.
and like the just the concept of it and it being kind of a hokey easy way out of something, but like
Mm.
I think there's something to be said about knowing that this is the last time you're going to see Rick Grimes, Andy Lincoln for a little while, and so there's
That's
that part of you
it.
that's willing to just kind of like let it go and be like, I'll take
Yeah.
everything I can get, and then if you throw in a couple of flashback, characters who are dead,
Mm.
some who are not, um, and um, and see what comes out of it. And I think they did it really well. I think people were dying to see Shane again, and how they saw him was really
Yeah,
cool.
that was amazing.
And then the coda, like at the end, seeing Judith Grimes in the new group, and after the
Mm.
helicopter flies off in the distance, there's just something about how, because if you think about it, if you look at that episode, they gave us so much. I mean, between Oceanside getting between the Sanctuary and Oceanside getting gunned down. I'm not sure if that
Yeah.
was the episode before or that episode. I think it might have been the one before. But either way,
Mm.
and you want to talk about all in the span of a day, like what we're talking about with season
Oh
6.
yeah.
Like that felt like the first. I want to say maybe episodes 2 through 5 were like the longest day ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, okay.
So there's something to be said about being able to tell that story, in a concatenated, um, uh, like a real world time, but then throughout the
Mm,
episodes, throughout several episodes, you know.
sure. Yeah. No, that's a great choice. And just yeah, so much jam packed into one episode, all the callbacks and everything. Yeah. Oh, someone the comments saying the one where Laurie dies was done really well. Yeah, can't agree more. Hey, my only peeve with that episode is I wish that was a bottle episode just focused on the prison because what kind of takes that one down a few notches for me is every time you cut to Andrea and Michonne just like complaining in Woodbury and you know you're right in the middle of this really intense emotional stuff happening in the prison and then it just like cuts back to them arguing about whether or not they should stay and so that I guess takes it down a little bit and that's maybe one big plus for bottle episodes is that you don't have to take away from those moments but no the Rick's reaction after hearing Laurie's died and just that whole scene is like I cry every time. It's incredible.
I feel like the memes have only softened the blow a little bit from all our
Yeah, that's
tears.
true. That's true.
Coral.
No, but it's such good acting
Yeah,
by Andy
yeah,
Lincoln.
that was a lot.
Incredible. Mm.
He
And then
gave
oh
of
yeah, the
himself.
Sophia Barn one. Coming out of the barn, that was just yeah. Oh, every time it's just like even if you know it's coming, there's just something about the slow build up. You know, everyone has been looking for Sophia for so long, and then there's just this culmination of everything where she walks out, and yeah, that was just one of those moments. Hey, that just hooked so many people.
Oh yeah. But by the way, um, if you watch that scene out of context a little bit,
Mm.
and I'm gonna lose a lot of people, but
Okay.
when you do, if you do watch that scene, like right when she gets out of the barn and you see everybody's reaction, so some of the reactions still get you, but I remember looking at Rick at that moment and
Okay.
noticing that there was something like off, like he's almost resentful. And no, and like so like if you watch it out of context, you don't
Mm.
know why he's resentful. Like after
Yeah,
all
right.
this time respecting Herschel, having to kill his friend, etc., etc.
Mm.
Um, and then you see Rick looks at Sophia, zombie Sophia, looks, he's like just resentful, looking at her, like not hating her, but hating that it all came down to
Yeah.
this and that's what happened. It's actually almost funny.
Okay. I hadn't thought about that. Hey, but
Like
I'll have to
we
go
know
back and
because we've
just watch his
watched it,
face.
but I just try to think in my head,
Yeah.
what would anybody else say if they saw this? Like,
If someone just walked in at that
yeah,
scene.
like why does he hate that girl? Like, why does he hate that little girl that turned to a zombie?
Yeah.
Once you see it, you'll be like, okay, I see it.
Okay, interesting. Oh, I'll have to go back and watch
Yeah.
that. That's a funny one. Um, Probably so favorite episode if I had to pick one. I don't know if I could say best episode just because it's so hard to be
It,
objective with that. Hey, but
it's so hard.
favorite, yeah. Probably it would be the calm before, so the Pikes episode with the fair and everything. Just like not just because of the reveal at the end, but just every time I
Right.
go back and watch that, the whole episode, the way it's paced out, the slow build up with this sense of something's not right, something bad's gonna happen, and then particularly what really just hits the nail on the head for me is after the Pikes, it doesn't just cut to black in the end credits. You get this beautiful moment of Sadiq saying, what this incredible speech about coming together and fighting through these challenges, and then even just to end on Daryl and Lydia at the Pikes laying down the little token is everything is just yeah perfect.
I mean, and that's like, talk about another episode where just so much happens and the tone shift is so
Mm,
absolutely, you're like literally on a roller coaster ride, but like one where you barely feel the bumps. It would be one
yeah,
thing if it was a jarring shift in tone,
sure.
but it just kind of just goes coasts up and down until you
That's
finally
it.
drop and the floor just disappears from underneath you. You know,
Yeah.
and then Sadiq catches you with his cradling arms.
Cradles it. Oh, well put, eh? And even I love the very end of that. I don't know how you felt about this first thing, but just do you remember the final shot is the close up of the little H token and a bit of snow falls and lands on it?
That's
Because that's
exactly
something, yeah.
that's exactly how I picture that scene too. Like, I'm telling you, I don't know if it was like even the first episode we started podcasting, but like I kept complaining throughout season 8
Yeah.
about wanting snow.
Where's the snow?
Where is the snow? Not like I wanted it frequently, but because we go deep a little bit, but like because we were like
Mm,
wondering how do they survive winter? Like you have to
yeah.
have all this stuff, and because you can't grow things, there's almost
Mm,
nothing left. And so we wanted
yeah.
to kind of see because like we almost wanted to see whether that would be a challenge for them. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
Like because I mean at the end of season 8 you figure out Rick says that the enemy, like the enemy, we need to get together because the enemy is not us. The
Mm,
enemy can't be us because the enemy is the walkers, right? But like,
sure.
but what
Sure.
if winter was the other enemy? Like
Yeah.
so we would have
Snow's
to get
the
together
enemy.
again, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, obviously, I get from a production logistical standpoint, it's quite difficult to do that, but still, yeah. For so long, it just
Yeah.
seemed like they're always skipping over winter, and they talk about it here and there, but you'd never see it. So at least to have that one episode is just yeah really rewarding. And maybe
Yeah.
if they I guess that works so well after the Pikes. You get this massive smack in the face, losing all these characters, but then it's like oh look, we've punished you enough. Here you go. Here's some snow straight away.
Here's like,
Maybe they
look
should have
this
done
way
that after
now.
Negan.
Yeah, let's spend a ton of money here so you can look that way.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you know, in a way though, like, I mean, this was a big discussion, like how it would have been, again, it would have been terrible, like you said with Negan, like having that kind of cliffhanger again would have been too much. But
Yeah.
I also think it's a great way of setting up a weird, like a transition into 10. And I kind of get it now because, I mean, you could think about it twofold, like trying to soften the blow, but also set up a transition. Because the one thing that you can easily say about season 9, as much as what they gave you, was the idea of giving the fans like a sense of momentum, like we're going somewhere, or
Yeah.
we're heading
100%.
somewhere. And so having that extra episode, as much as you don't think about it at the time, that episode actually just was kind of like, okay, let's stop for a second. Let's pull back the rubber band on the last episode.
Sure.
And we're going to go all the way till the end, and then we're going to let go with the radio. And like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
What's this that's distracting my attention from the Pikes? Like, who could that be? Is it Alicia? You know? No,
so cool.
no, Tom, it's Madison. It was Madison the whole time. That's an inside joke. Whenever we see a new villain, we say she's gonna rip. Or he or she is gonna rip their mask off, and it's gonna be Madison. Madison Clark.
Ooh. Well, actually, you know, looking at the final season now, they're pulling everything together. Do you think there's a chance they will try and tie in some of the spin-off shows, bring them all into the one place, or is that probably not going to happen, do you reckon?
It's so funny because I do get this question a lot, and I'm this weird sort of person that deals with the things that I have rather than the things I don't have. Like, so I will have my fits of fancy kind of theories, right? But then I'll scale it back, and then I'll say, no, I got to work with what I have and what they've said. Not to say that they haven't broken their own rules, but if they say they're never going to have another crossover again, character or a narrative where like the two stories cross over, I'll say no, and that's their like Twitter's 280 words or less kind of rule for themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So if that's the case, I mean, what will we see? Well, I know that what they also said was there are going to be things that happen which have already happened in season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead. There's going to be concepts and ideas that show up in one series that will make it to another. So it's like, so obviously like Isabel from Fear the Walking Dead season 5, she has the CRM outfit with the helmet and everything. What do we see in the trailer for The Walking Dead World Beyond? Those same sort of outfits, a little updated. So I have a feeling, I made a joke about this, I have a feeling we're going to see a statue of Rick Grimes somewhere in The Walking Dead World Beyond. It's a stupid comment, but like, I would laugh.
That's a cool thought. I like that.
I would do the laugh where I kind of go, I wasn't serious about that, but you know, and Stranger Things.
I could see it. There was one comment just earlier, was a Blazy Gardner saying "Here's Not Here" is my favorite episode. So that's the one with Morgan and Eastman, which, yeah, great episode, hey. But I've never heard someone say that's their favorite. So that's a hot take there. How did you find that one?
You know what? It was a good break.
That's true.
I will say that. I mean, you know, it's as much as I say I don't like the idea of, I don't enjoy the upcoming idea of somebody trying to do a hallucination episode or a sort of like a flashback moment. I'm like very anti-origin stories, and people, everybody can quote me on that. Like, I don't really want a Negan origin story, not because we deserve it or like, I feel like those things can be revealed naturally. Okay, but like with the way they did Here's Not Here, the thing that I liked about it the most was that it explains a little bit why Morgan's chilled out when he wasn't before. And
got to fill in those gaps. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's got to be some sort of explanation for it. which actually kind of gives us even more of a reason why he became like mad. And then
Sure.
also how he was able to redirect that madness. And
Sure.
why it's a little hokey too, which we find out throughout 6, 7, 8, and then into Fear the Walking Dead, how it didn't hold up. It didn't manage to hold up. So,
Mm,
I mean, you could say
interesting.
like here is not here is so relevant in the terms of like the fact that they kept him around makes that episode actually way more relevant, instead
Yeah.
of killed him off.
No, that's true. Yeah, if they'd have that and then just the next episode he's gone, that would have been
Then it
felt
would have
like a
been
waste of time.
exactly.
Yeah. Mm. No, that's a fair point. Hey, well, that actually ties in pretty well to another part of the announcement the other day about what's it called, Tales of the Walking Dead. So that's going to be anthology. Just they really haven't said much about it aside from the fact that yeah, each episode's going to be sort of its separate little thing. So there's definitely the potential there to do more stuff like that, backstories if they wanted to, or stuff in the present day. In that setting, would you be keen to see more backstories potentially, or would you prefer just to stick with the present time?
Oh no, if that's the kind of show that we're going to deal with, I could see the avenue. I mean, and hell,
Mm,
if they're going to start with anybody, you better come out
yeah,
strong with Negan out from the start. And
that's true.
it's got to be like a 2-hour episode to satisfy the
Mm,
masses. Because I have to
for
tell you,
sure.
if you're going to bother doing something like that, and the show, here's the reason why I don't like that. Let me just cover that for a second, because part of
Sure, yeah.
part of the reason why we like The Walking Dead, or part of the reason why we fell in love with The Walking Dead, is that the only person we got an inkling of who they were before the apocalypse, and you could say Daryl too, but not
Mm,
really. You don't know really anything, is Rick Grimes. Now, you
yeah,
don't know everything about him. You know that he's a sheriff. You know that he
sure.
had a partner. You know he has a son. You know he has a wife. But you don't know
Yeah.
like a ton of facts about his past. What you do know is that everybody else on the show really doesn't have a backstory. Abraham got a
Mm,
tiny few second scenes, but to explain
yeah.
why he is the way he is now versus the way he used to be. And I think
Yeah,
most
that's
people
right.
don't get backstories. And the reason why it is because they are the Walking Dead. It's about who they are now, right? And
Sure.
so when people talk about an Negan backstory, and just on show canon, not like comic book canon, but just when you talk about the show, um, well, the show doesn't really do that, and it's like one of those rules you don't break. And so they broke it for
Mm,
Alpha, and I was okay with it because, like we said, I think Angela Kang
yeah.
respects momentum more than breaking that kind of like cardinal rule. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think that was like it was a gamble. I don't know if it was a gamble. Like let's be honest. You can break your own
To
rules
some
if
extent,
you're the
for
showrunner.
sure.
Yeah. But I think that's why. And so, but if it's a show about backstories or possible present stories tangentially,
Mm,
um, have at it. This is your time
yeah,
to play, and go hard.
100%.
Give the people what they want, and I mean, I've heard tell of people saying definitely there's no way they're not going to try to get Jeffrey DeMunn to do a Dale scene.
Dale. Oh, it hadn't even crossed my mind. Hey,
I mean,
yeah.
it's funny because I've heard from people, and I don't know if this is Brian. I don't know if Brian's still on in the chat, but I think I've even heard him say something to the effect of, I think Jeffrey DeMunn has said to some fans in person
Mm,
that not that he made a mistake by leaving the show, but he's like, or like he regrets it, but he's like he would like to come back on again
right.
somehow, or maybe I could have
Okay.
stuck around a little longer because it was his choice.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's the thing. So it's
Yeah,
like
no, that's true.
that would be the opportunity. Yeah, I'm here. Hi, Brian.
Absolutely. No, that's true. Someone else has said start with Glenn. That's another possibility. Um, yeah, I guess. Well, because he looks so much older now, I don't know if you could go back and do anything before what we've seen of him in the show. But at the very least, like, I don't know. There's probably some point in the story. I'm sure you could fit in some sort of side adventure with him where I don't know, he goes off and does something. There's, been little different time skips throughout the show. So, yeah, Lane would definitely be good to see more of. Hey, and then what is it? Brian saying, uh, yeah, Dale, the governor.
The governor is the
We
right
actually
answer.
kind of had that, didn't we?
We
Yeah,
did, though. We didn't
we
we?
had like two full episodes.
Although, I mean, here's the thing. The thing that is going to be a little tricky is that you don't want to do, and this would be kind of breaking the rules a little bit, right?
Mm,
Do we want to see in this anthology series how the world fell for those characters? Meaning, kind of like a Fear of the Walking Dead
mm,
situation. Do you want to see that? Should it be about that, or should it be, or their lives before, or should it be like
mm.
what happened probably just a little bit after the apocalypse, where like, we didn't see. I think the timeline of seeing Rick leave the hospital was like, I want to say it's 2 or 3 months from the time he got shot until
Yeah,
he woke up from his coma. And
yeah,
so like what happened between those 3 months? I mean, you could just do a whole anthology based on those 3 months. How it happened for
yeah.
Angie and
You
her
could.
sister, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It would be tricky, because obviously the actors are now 10 years older than they were when they were filming that stuff. So I guess as long as you could
Yeah.
just look past that and, just, hey, it's a show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is a
as
valley
long as
between
you can
40
get
and
past
50,
that,
I
I
think.
suppose. Yeah, right.
They're like
Wow.
30 and 40. So,
Crazy, hey.
but you know what? Like they
Uh,
have a bunch. Uh, like I'm wondering to myself, like they have a bunch of talented makeup artists, and I'm gonna say this, but like CG people, people that can do CG,
mm,
layered CG. So it's doable. Like if you
yeah,
remember, do you remember that last
that's
scene in
true.
season 8, where they tried to had to have Andrew Lincoln pick up like a child actor representing a child
Yeah.
Carl, and
That looked pretty seamless to me.
I was more like, oh no, because I mean, I was more like he's put on some weight or
Right,
something,
right.
and he looked just a little bit more filled, which is not bad, but like compared to like clean cut Andrew Lincoln when he first came on the show with this
Sure.
slightly curly hair and the gaunt face a little bit, compare that to the
Yeah.
kind of filled out Rick Grimes
Interesting.
in his uniform. So it was noticeable. That's all I'm going to say. It was just noticeable,
Fair enough.
and it's 8 years, so people change. It's not.
Hey,
You can only do so much, right?
sure. No, definitely.
And I don't think people are going to
Yeah.
care. I really don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I don't know if you keep up with Breaking Bad? Because they did that El Camino, right? The
Yeah.
Jesse Pinkman movie, and
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking of. I think Todd is the character's name. He looks like quite a bit different to how he looked.
Un poco. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a little bit.
Um,
Sharondy's saying how they make
yeah,
Bob Odenkirk look 20 years younger. I think which is pretty good. It's a good
yeah,
example.
wow. That's true. Yeah, no, and like you said, it's a show. You know that it's not supposed to be a documentary or something like that. But so I guess you
Yeah.
can kind of get over some of that stuff, knowing that there has been such a time between the filming. But I don't know. For me, definitely, if I could have anything at all for that Tales of the Walking Dead show, I would probably prefer not to do the backstories, or at least not to do too many of them, but more just to keep up with the characters we got at the moment. So you could have a Rosita episode, a Gabriel
Yeah.
episode, assuming they're still alive, and just still keep all those characters going, see what they're up to. You don't have to have the whole show about them, but at least just have an episode here and there to see what all those guys are still up to. Jerry episode, you could do
That
so many different
that would be
things.
great. And
Mm,
and I've heard Rosita a lot when as soon as that dropped, people were like, Rosita, I need to know. And in my head, I was also thinking like, well, they already had the reference to Abraham and Eugene in Fear the Walking Dead
mm.
season 4 with Althea. You could just,
Right, right.
I mean, if you want to talk bottle episodes, like having that complete episode being watched on like a VHS sort of system. You know, a system
Yeah,
of interviews between them and Althea or action scenes. That would be really cool, I think.
that would be cool. Yeah, and particularly something crazy like that. Tying between the two different shows, like that's the perfect place to do it. Hey, just to pull different characters together and fill in some of those gaps. That'd be yeah. I don't know where else you'd do that. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been begging for that for a little while, but I think yeah, I mean, and of course the only way they can really make use of the show accurately, because like there is something to be said about, well, it can't be all about resurrecting the dead characters. It has to all. I mean,
Yeah,
there's definitely
absolutely.
going to be present scenes,
Hmm.
because it may or may not be clear whether how many other people are going to be joining Carol and Daryl in this new spin-off, which, is
Yeah,
another bit of news that
yeah.
came out, but it's also not
Mm.
clear what, I mean, because any new episode that they come out with in this anthology series could be just another gateway into like another
Sure.
series or some sort of tangential spin-off of another kind. I mean, if people like a character so much from a particular episode, there may be like one of those public outpour kind of um, movements for that character to have their own thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I can imagine, like, I haven't had a look yet, but I imagine that there's going to be a lot of petitions for, yeah, people wanting this episode, this episode.
Yeah, which is kind of like why they were saying, like, which they just said today, like doing an
Mm.
anthology series like this, it's a big gamble, but it could yield high reward.
Yeah,
And I agree. I definitely
100%.
agree.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, is that Brian saying Tyrese and Sasha before the prison? That'd be, yeah, I can see that. They're two, obviously two great characters. I don't know about before the prison, like, because they got so interesting and cool by, like, being a part of Rick's group and just, I don't know, learning to survive there. But I could see that working, definitely. I'd
Yeah,
like to see more of them.
maybe bring Melissa Ponzio back on. Like
Who's that again? Sorry.
who was Karen, who she played Karen.
Karen,
Was
yeah.
it Tyrese's girlfriend? I think it was. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So what you could almost do the gap in between seasons 3 and 4 and fill in that a bit.
Yeah. Oh, and and I saw this interesting still shot when Brandon Davis was talking about it in his wrap up video, like this
Hmm.
from comicbook.com. I saw stills of Grady Memorial Hospital because we still don't know what
Ooh,
happened to
yeah.
those folks as well.
Yeah, that was left completely open. Hey.
Yeah, and so they can go all over the place with that. I wouldn't even mind if they started with that first, actually,
Interesting.
before
Okay.
Negan. Yeah, before Negan.
Wow.
Like let's
Yeah,
let's
that's
let's
a
do a
bold
soft open.
statement.
Let's do a soft open before we do a hard open. Like yeah,
Oh, fair.
ease them into the process rather than go, "Hey, I'm Negan. This is my penis. Let's go." Like that sort of like, oh, well, slow down.
Cool.
You got to romance me
Yeah.
first.
No, that's true. I like the idea of just easing into it a
Yeah,
bit.
exactly.
Oh, very true. Yeah, so the Daryl and Carol series, like you mentioned, what are your thoughts on that? I suppose it almost feels to some extent like that's going to be, the continuation of the main show, because really they are the two m main characters. Like, if you had to say that they were main characters, they've been there from the start, and really a lot of the show does revolve around them. So I guess it makes sense. We've got Angela Kang, Scott Gimple, they're all working on it. So it's not like that's just some random little spin-off they're pawning off to some other studio. Like that's really continuing the main story, but just without, I suppose, everything else going on as well. Yeah, so how do you feel about that and just that idea of having Daryl and Carol as the central characters?
I think it was. This is going to sound like really. It's not going to sound interesting, but it's going to sound like almost a cop out, but it isn't.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I think it's the smartest thing they've ever done in a while. Not the
Yeah,
idea of the
right.
show, but announcing the show, or at least announcing like the patina of the show, that kind of kernel that there
Okay.
will be one, in the way that they did it too. Because knowing that it's these two people, which the internet seems to either love or hate together, or I mean, like they can be great together, but they're just
Yeah.
friends. Um,
Right.
I mean, the idea that people are, and it's proof positive, like Carol and Daryl were trending on Twitter just because of this idea. So you decide. I mean,
Mm.
even bad press is good press,
Yeah.
depending on your outlook. But
Yeah, that's true.
other than the social media or like spin side of the whole thing, here's the thing. When they announce something like that, it would be easy to kind of throw your hands up and say, "Oh, they're gonna be together," and
Yeah.
and all I could keep thinking of is, okay, no, that's not it. So what is it? That's all I'm thinking about
Right.
because it can't be. It's like saying to your friend, "I'm going to throw you a surprise party."
Yeah.
No,
That's
you're
true.
what? It's not a surprise party. So as a smart person, I'd like to think in just one regard. I mean,
Mm.
I have to wonder if it's them even together on the show. Is it them in two different places and somehow they find a way
Oh,
to
interesting.
reconnect? Are they adversaries? These are things that are going on in my mind right now. Like,
Yeah.
how do you announce a show like that in advance and and
Yeah.
and then subvert any expectation of what you might have that could be? And that's how they do it.
Mm.
It's how they've done it almost every time, except for the Glenn thing because that was in the comic book. But still,
Yeah. No, interesting. Oh, someone's just said Connie must die. No.
I don't
Why would
agree.
you say that?
And
No.
that's funny. Like, how could they do that knowing that, like, okay, that's gonna influence? And so again, it's genius, is what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So I'm almost convinced that Connie will not die because of that, because it
Right,
can't be
because
that
yeah, they
easy.
wouldn't want to give that away. Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting. Cool thought. And yeah, so I guess would you even see so if they were to ship them together, Connie and Daryl, they do get into a romantic relationship, that could still carry on into the Daryl and Carol show. Carol can still be there. It doesn't have to be something romantic necessarily, but yeah, would you be keen to see that
Oh
and keep
yeah,
that
yeah.
going?
I'm definitely into it because I mean, I I wonder just because you announced the two people that are going to be on the show, it doesn't mean that they haven't really. First of all, they haven't fleshed out completely what that show is going to be about. But
Mm,
they also haven't mentioned, and they're not going to until they figure out how they're going to do this. Develop and write for the show. I mean, I'm sure they have a general roadmap of how this is going to turn out, but until they actually get the writing down on paper, I mean, they haven't said who else is going to be on the show. What if Connie is with him as well? Lauren
yeah,
Ridloff is with Daryl,
yeah.
and those two characters are together, and Carol Pelletier is on the show as well. So it's kind of like
Mm,
you don't know how this is going to turn out. You don't know who survives. You don't know who else is joining the show because I almost
sure.
I am almost incredulous to think that um, well, are they going to kill all the other people off? Are they just going to let the story ride into the sunset? Who else is joining them? So, I mean,
Mm,
it's like everybody seems to have this binary idea of what this is going to be, and binary two people. So it's easy to
mm.
kind of frame, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. Hell, my brain is going so crazy. It's thinking either Carol or Daryl dies, and then one of them is like this
Ooh.
ghostly apparition that's following them for the rest of their days. Anything's
Daryl
possible.
walking
And
around
the
with a
way
little
th-
ghost Carol on his shoulder.
exactly, and the irony of how that could go is that it would be Daryl to be the one that dies because of all the stuff
Yeah.
that Carol did throughout the season. So like that's on
Oh,
her
oh,
conscience for
mate.
at least the first whole season. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't want to upset people, but this is
Crazy.
where my brain is going, and so
Mm,
because it can't be that obvious to me. I mean, I'm sure many people feel the same way as I do, that it just
mm.
can't be that simple.
No,
But no, but I'm
100%. Hey,
interested.
and like so many just like, yeah, endless possibilities. Hey, they haven't given us a name or anything. They've legit just said Daryl and Carol in a spin-off show. So much you can see
Yeah,
with that. I mean, I was
Isn't it
rewatching the
genius
start
though?
of season. Yeah, genius, absolutely, and it gets all of us talking.
Just like
Absolutely. I
either
was
it's like
rewatching the start of season 10 the other day where they're talking about going off to like New Mexico and just riding off, going off doing something. So, you could see that. You could see just them going off, having an adventure, doing their own thing. Or you could see it as pretty much just the main show continuing, but less focus on the other characters. And so they could even still be in Alexandria, wherever, but you just don't follow the other characters as much. You just follow what they're doing. I would love to see that, but hey, who knows? Nothing's really been confirmed outside of that. Hey,
yeah, and that's perfect because now everybody's gonna wonder, just like the Rick movies, the Rick Grimes movie or movie,
yeah,
officially movie.
who knows?
Um,
Yeah,
um, everybody has their theories right now because nobody knows
mm,
anything. Nobody knows
that's
anything,
it.
and
That's
so
it. Yeah.
you're gonna until they release this show in 2022, maybe no 2023 actually. Um,
Mm.
I almost feel bad for all of us until like maybe 20 like spring or autumn of 2022 where we might get some
Mm.
information because in the meantime we're going to get bombarded by this civil war of carolers like Carol and Daryl and then
Yeah.
but then also other people who are like me who are just trying to figure out how this could happen, and
Yeah.
and then and then the people in between who are like, guys, we love this show. Stop fighting.
Settle down now.
Oh, boy.
If you had to choose, like Daryl and Connie or Daryl and Carol, what would you go with?
I mean, I'm more inclined to say Daryl and Connie. And I've made
Yeah.
this clear on the show only because I the best way I could put it, and I've said it exactly this way, it's
Mm.
going for Carol as Daryl or Carol going for Daryl. It would be like going for your best friend, literally.
Yeah.
And you know too much about each other, about your flaws, about every ugly thing that you like farting behind your back, that sort of like just the
Daryl
gross
hasn't had a
things.
shower in 10 years.
Exactly. She knows she's used to his trashy, smelly self. And so it's kind of like when you know
Yeah.
all that about somebody, when you see somebody new, well, there's an opportunity to get to know them better,
Yeah.
to grow with them. Like you've already kind of grown with that other person, and you're like, you can be with that person, sure, but like when you have the goods, you don't. It's the whole getting to know someone that's exciting. I think, like about dating, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm married. I'm
Yeah.
done with that. But I mean, I remember, like the good old days. No, okay, no, I remember what it was like to kind of just get to know someone, and I
Interesting.
think that has value. And yeah, I mean, really knowing somebody is one thing, and having that person be your best friend. But not often do you cross that divide, and especially after like
Mm.
10 years,
Yeah.
10 years, being really, really in close quarters, knowing everything about them. I mean, if you haven't
Mm.
pulled the trigger in 10 years,
That's
it's
true.
not
Yeah.
it's not happening. I mean, that's just my
100%.
opinion, though. I do not begrudge anybody's opinion about this. If you can figure out a way to bridge that gap in a way that
Mm.
makes sense, I'm all ears. You know?
No, fair enough. Hey, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
I'm just getting a notification. Instagram's going to kick us off in about a minute. I think we're about hitting the hour point. So yeah, we'll have to do this again sometimes because yeah, this is really great chatting with you. Hey,
Same
well,
here.
where can people find Squawking Dead?
So Squawking Dead is you can just find us at squawkingdead.com. All our
Awesome.
socials, all our streaming, our blogs.
Yeah, you were talking about your ultimate fan competition.
Yeah, so we talked about this a couple of months ago. We actually did a podcast on the process that both Ashley, whom I mentioned at the top of the last
Yeah.
video, Ashley and Rachel, the process of becoming Talking Dead's ultimate fan. So we did a whole episode on that. Episode 98 was all about that. And I got it into my head that, like, okay, listen, there has been no news about what's going on with this year's Talking Dead Ultimate Fan Competition.
Sure.
Rachel submitted an awesome video for it, and so
Mm.
it went dead. So we just decided amongst ourselves, like, why don't we do it? And
That's
so
amazing.
I developed it out. I got a few people to submit some videos to kind of get some momentum going before we just slingshot it. And we
Yeah.
got I think it was 4 or 5 videos just around that weekend alone. He said, we're
Mm.
off with a bang.
Yeah.
And so I gave people a month to just submit videos before I announced prizes.
Mm.
And bottom line is, we at the beginning of the month, of September, we closed off the entries, and now it's just time for TWD family to step up. Now, what's cool is
Okay.
not only are the Ultimate fans vying for prizes and
Mm.
recognition, and there are 2 top prizes. There's a grand prize and there's a second place prize.
Okay.
But when you vote in the competition, you are voting. You are submitting entries to your very own giveaway. So
Ooh, look at that.
so I
Nice.
am looking at my wallet and going, I don't know how I can withstand this,
Oh
but
no.
it's really cool, and I kind of wanted to make it so the first competition is called TWD Universe's Ultimate Fan, and the
Yep.
second one is called TWD Family's Ultimate Members. So it's just these guys
Okay.
are voting for these
Okay.
guys, and they're both getting something out of it. I hope. We actually just increased the prizes for the voters. So there's I know that there's a print from Walker Wynn. There's a print from Scott Spillman, and some Squawking Dead merch. And then
Great.
four
Okay.
other winners will just get one Squawking Dead item from our merch store. So it's
Nice.
pretty cool.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, well, I'll definitely have to check that out and get in voting. I'll be honest, I was a bit intimidated at first just because like seeing some of the fans, they've got their whole rooms, covered in Walking Dead stuff. I'm like, oh, how could I even get close to that? Some of these guys are just incredible. So yeah, but no, I'll definitely look into that. And yeah, anyone who's watching this, definitely make sure you go check that out. That's yeah, that's really cool that you guys are keeping that going. I think especially after yeah, the main sort of Talking Dead didn't continue it. That's yeah, just
Yeah, I
good to pick
mean,
it up where they left off. Hey,
just nothing. We just heard nothing. I mean, I actually tried to contact somebody from Talking Dead, but just like,
yeah,
no, just they didn't. Cone of silence.
interesting.
But
Yeah,
but
right.
what the other component of that is that what's great about what we're trying to do is we're trying to open up to the world. Whereas, I mean, as you know, Talking Dead confines it to the United States. So,
Right. Yeah.
eh. So like we're
Yeah.
all stuck indoors. We might as well do something pretty
Mm.
cool about it. So I figured just
That's
open it
actually
up.
really cool because so I'm in Australia and I know lots of other fans who are all around the world and one thing I will say Walking Dead could probably improve on is just opening their doors more to international audiences. One thing especially is AMC Premiere. You get to see the episodes 2 days early, and there's just
Sorry.
no options available whatsoever outside of America. So I think they could definitely open that up. But that's great that you guys are taking the initiative and making it available to everyone and just
Yeah.
yeah having fun with it. Hey.
I mean, we could try. Yeah. It's the only thing we could think of to do for you guys, to be honest. I mean, the only other thing that we actually tried doing at one point in season 10 was we actually tried to do like a little bit of a live watch
Okay.
of the episode on AMC Premiere
Right,
for
right.
our international audiences. Um, it's just
Yeah,
a
it can
matter
be
of
tricky
getting
with
people.
copyright and everything. Hey.
Well, I mean, if you're doing it over Zoom, you're kind of doing it in a closed loop, you know.
Ah,
So I
okay.
think that's okay.
Yeah.
But there's the whole other side of the coin, which is the hardest part. It's the
Mm,
logistics. It's like
yeah,
trying to get somebody from
absolutely.
Australia, Brazil, the Netherlands, you name it,
Yeah,
Paris. First of all, the
yeah.
idea of getting them on Zoom is already tough to begin with.
Right.
But then there's all the time zones. So,
Ah, crazy, hey.
but we tried, and we did it a couple times. It worked out.
Okay, yeah. No, good to give it a shot, hey. And yeah, no, well, I'll definitely keep an eye on what else you guys are doing, and as long as the time zones line up at a reasonable hour, then I'll definitely get involved in that. So yeah, no, that's fun.
We'll work on it. We'll stream a
Yeah,
little later so you can join us a little earlier.
sure. Yeah, no, it's so tricky. Like you're saying, people all around the world, you can't please everyone. Hey.
Yeah, toughest part, really. I mean, like
Yeah,
when our biggest fans are in the UK and we
yeah,
stream at
right.
7, it's like midnight. Good
Oh,
night, you know?
that's it. Oh, crazy. Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll wrap it up about there. Hey, for for my podcast, Just Keep Walking, I've got two mates, Isaac and Liam, who do that with me. Just last night we interviewed Michael Satrazemis, so he's a director and a director of photography on The Walking Dead and now Fear as well. So yeah, he's just wealth of knowledge. He had so many really cool stories about just behind the scenes stuff and yeah, stories behind scenes that we'd never quite had the answers to. So that was really fun. So definitely, you can subscribe to us on both Spotify or iTunes, and then we'll upload that fairly soon. And turnsounds.com is then our website because Turn Sounds is where we sort of produce all our podcasts through. We got Star Wars, we got movie reviews, all sorts of other stuff. So check those
I
out.
love your
Obviously,
website, by the way.
check out Squawking Dead. Oh, you've seen it, hey?
I
Thanks.
love the concept. Honestly, it's kind of what I want to do eventually.
Okay,
But
right, yeah.
it's a beautiful turnsounds.com, right?
Yeah,
Beautiful
that's it.
website.
Oh, great to hear. Thanks. I'll pass that on to Isaac. He's the one who put that together. So, that's great to hear. Fantastic. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll probably wrap it up there, and obviously we'll have to do this again sometime. This is great fun. So, yeah,
Absolutely. Thank
thanks so
you
much for
very,
taking
very
the time
much.
out. Hey. All good. My pleasure. Well, I'll catch you next time, and keep enjoying The Walking Dead.
Yeah, you too, brother. And we'll talk soon.
Fantastic. Sounds great. See ya.
Cheers.